Good morning, good afternoon from wherever you're joining us from across the globe. Thank you for taking out time on this 31st of October just to learn a little bit more about ESG. My name is Noralan. I'm the founder of Are You Thinking Green? And I welcome you to another exciting ESG livecast webinar. We're going to talk about looking at case studies. A lot of discussions right now are going on the pre-COP preparations that are happening across the globe. Stakeholders are coming together, working, looking at ways in which we could devise strategies to ensure that our climate change agenda by the 2050 is met. We do look at the spaces in which organizations are working on in terms of just looking at the space in which the ESG investments are taking place, which is something around, to be exact, it's around $2 trillion worth of investment that is out there, that is for organizations like yourself to grab into the portfolio and look at ways in which you can utilize those funds for the world and also for organizational performances. Today's agenda is something that we really want to interact and look at ways in which ESG, the work that we are doing in the ESG domain, whether you are a startup, whether you are an organization, whether you are a public sector stakeholder group, you're working for a regulator, looking at ways in which we can use artificial intelligence to streamline a lot of our processes under the ESG domains. So the next hour that we're going to spend with you is going to be led by a wonderful speaker panel. I'm going to introduce them one by one so that you get to know and get to learn from them. You would be joining us live on our LinkedIn page, the Brown Network's LinkedIn page, and all the collaborators who are here. I'll just like to quickly give them a shout out. Brown Network is spearheading this particular initiative, and we're joined by collaborators like Mindworks International, that's my organization. And then we have the Cognition Hub, we have one of our speakers for today. We were right here going to talk about the case study that's HERMESNET. Please correct me, Nauman, if I'm pronouncing the name incorrectly. And then we have the IFRS lab. So let me just go ahead and introduce our speakers to you one by one. I'm just going to add them to the stage. I'm joined by Waqas Javed, who is the CEO of the Brown Network, and he'd be taking you through the conversation, setting the tone for today's session. Hi, Waqas, how are you? Just doing a sound check so I know that you can hear us okay.
I'm good, dude. Thanks. It's
Thank
all
you.
good.
Very, very good. We're also joined by Dr. Evgeny Kunts. So here you are, sir. Welcome. He's an investor, he's a founder, and he is a wealth management specialist. And he also has expertise in the capital markets and in the ESG domains, in sustainability as well. And he's joining us from UK. Hi,
Thank
Dr.
you. Thank
Kunts.
you. Yes, thank you for introduction. Very nice introduction.
Th-
Thank you.
th- Thank you for joining us. And lastly, completing our panel, we have Mr. Nauman Khalid, who is working a lot on the ESG domain. We have had a couple of webinars already. He's also heading HermesNet. Nauman, did I get that right?
This is called HERMESNET. Yeah, yeah.
HermesNet. Right. Okay, wonderful. He is actually working on a lot of the things that a lot of our audience who are joining us would be joining the live or then watching the recording later on as well. So if you want to know anything about the carbon credit markets, Noman is your person to go to because he specializes in that as well. So this is our panel. I'll encourage that we keep the session as interactive as possible. So if you have any comments that come along the way, please feel free to join in our sessions. So let me just come on to you, Vikas, because I know that we've been brainstorming this, and all of you were also strategizing and looking at ways as to why we are looking at ESG and why is it a topic that everybody is currently, focusing on and talking about. Over to you.
Thanks a lot, Noor. Just give me a second. Perfect. Uh, Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're joining from. It's such an honor to be here with such an engaged audience on the topic that is not only shaping our industry but our planet. Today, as we look at sustainability within the IT sector specifically, I'm from the IT background, so I'll speak about on the IT infrastructure side and the data center specifically. So we are just not talking about reducing energy or managing waste, but we are talking about envisioning a transformative approach to technology that aligns with the environmental preservation, responsible growth, and impactful innovation. I'll touch a little base on the role of IT in sustainability. The IT industry has grown exponentially, connecting millions, building infrastructures, and powering economies. Yet, with great power comes great responsibility. The reality we face is this: our digital footprint must come with a lighter carbon footprint. That's the base of it. From the data center to the devices, the scale of IT's impact on energy consumption and environmental resources is considerable. So, our challenge is to balance the increasing demand for technology with the sustainable practices that minimize the environmental costs. We are very fortunate to see so many industry leading organizations stepping up to this challenge with a very clear vision. Company like big giants, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, PepsiCo, Cisco, and many others they have set ambitious goals to reduce their carbon footprint within the next few decades. Uh, I'll just give you an example from the Microsoft and Cisco's commitment to becoming the carbon negative by 2030 is a very powerful move, as they not only aim to neutralize their footprint, but also actively remove the carbon from the environment. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Google achieved its carbon neutral status back in 2007 and continues to set the bar very high by investing in renewable energy projects and energy efficient infrastructures globally. What we have to do is that, and what we are trying to achieve is, we are taking aggressive actions towards a sustainable infrastructure. We have set the bar very high now with these sustainable initiatives. Achieving these ambitious goals means transforming our infrastructure. Data centers, I'll speak about data centers a lot in this like 5 to 10 minutes span. That's one of my favorite topics as well. Data centers, often called the backbone of the internet, are now being designed with sustainability in mind. Data centers are major energy consumers. They contribute around 1% of the global electricity consumption. That's massive. I'll repeat that again. They contribute around 1% of the global electricity consumption. That's very huge. That's massive. But they're also, now what we are trying to do is that they're consuming electricity, but now they're also setting up the pace for a sustainable innovation, rapidly evolving to cut their carbon footprint and improve the efficiency. That's the target what we're trying to achieve. So there are multiple aggressive actions that we are trying to take while building massive and huge data centers. I'll just touch bases on few of them due to the shortage of the time. First thing I want to touch is that energy efficient data centers. What we try to do is that we are trying to build data centers that are very energy efficient data centers. We have built data center as which are twice as energy efficient as a typical enterprise data center. We achieved this by using the AI driven energy management systems. We have using machine learning to optimize the power usage, reducing the energy waste by automatically adjusting the cooling systems, and have achieved a power usage effectiveness, the POE, the symbol of measuring the scores in the data centers and sustainabilities. We have achieved in multiple data centers the score of 1 to 1 ratio, 1.1 in some facilities. That's very impressive feat if you talk about the PUE unit terminology, whereas the industry averages moves around roughly around 1.58. Let me talk about the renewable energy integration. Many companies are building facilities to run entirely on the renewable energy, uh, like Cisco and Microsoft, and these leading companies, the major giants. Their commitment to power its operations with 100% renewable energy by 2025 has led to partnership with wind, solar, hydropower projects. What we try to build data center is that we try to run multiple data centers on renewable energy. I was reading a report with the major giants like Microsoft and Google and Amazon. So Microsoft, I was reading one of the report in which it was stated that Microsoft data center in Washington, for instance, sources its power entirely from local hydropower. Similarly, Amazon has become the world's largest corporate buyer for renewable energy. They're setting up the wind and solar farms to supply data center across the globe, aiming to power all its operations by 2030 with the renewable energy. There are multiple techniques that we used in data center, like uh, we start building the data centers with the sustainable model. We have started building and creating massive data centers with renewable energy. Then we start to implement different technologies that enhances the sustainable environment, that reduces the carbon footprint as well. One of these technologies is called the advanced cooling technologies. uh, Cooling infrastructure is very crucial for the data centers as it prevents equipment from overheating. Traditionally, cooling systems consume a large portion of energy in a data center, but innovative solutions are changing that. For instance, one of the examples I'll quote here: Facebook data center in Sweden that utilizes the cold climate to naturally cool the cold all the servers that are in the data centers. Uh, Additionally, there was a project that I personally loved a lot, Microsoft underwater data center project, that demonstrated the viability of submerging the entire data center into the ocean, where the cold water naturally cools the system, resulting in an energy saving up to 95% of the cooling. So there are multiple techniques that we need to understand while building massive data centers, because as they consume 1% of the global electricity, we have to be very careful while designing the data centers. Coming to the liquid cooling and immersive cooling technologies, another groundbreaking approach is the liquid cooling, where several components are directly cooled using the non-conductive liquids. We have built so many data centers. If it depends upon the data center, if it is a very high-end data centers, we need to make sure that we are using the latest technologies and we are not consuming much of the energies. So one of the data centers that we built, we use the liquid cooling and immersive technologies. This technique this technique basically employed by the companies, major companies like IBM and Alibaba and Amazon as well, that reduces the cooling energy as much as 40%. And immersive cooling, a related technique, involves submerging servers specifically in design and cooling fluids, which allows even more efficient heat dissipations. Then I'll speak about the repurposing of the waste heat. So, for example, if we have built so many data centers, we need to make sure that we are repurposing the waste heat nowadays. Some companies are now utilizing the waste heat generated by the data centers to serve other needs. For example, one of the data centers that we were working on, it it transfers the heat, the waste heat coming from all the equipment, to nearby greenhouses, helping them grow vegetable sustainability. Uh, in Netherlands, Microsoft is working with the local municipality channels to waste heat from their data centers to heat residential areas, reducing the energy required for the heating homes. So there are multiple different techniques that we need to utilize. We need to understand how the data centers are working, how the infrastructure is working, and we need to engage. We need to immerse all these technologies to make sure that our data centers is up to the standards. It is on the carbon footprint standards. It is using less energy consumptions. All of this. Then we can talk about the sustainable materials and the circular economy. That's one of the major things that has hit the environment for the past like a decade or so. Data centers are also being constructed with more sustainable materials and employing circular economy principles. For instance, many companies, including Google, Cisco, Amazon, all of this, they have committed to making its hardware supply chains more sustainable by reusing and recycling older server parts and reducing the need of the new hardware. That's massive. That's a very good initiative that we are working on for the past decade. They also work on the partners to ensure responsible disposal of outdated equipment, reducing the e-waste. That's a kind of a concept for the circular economy, that we have to use the refurbished parts, we have to dispose the outdated equipment in a proper manner, so it is not affecting the environment. Then we have to talk about the commitment to carbon neutral and carbon negative goals. Well, many companies have committed to carbon neutrality. Some are pushing further towards the carbon negativity as well. So now we have touched bases on reducing the carbon footprint, right? We need to make sure that IT infrastructures and data centers that we are building, it is reducing the carbon footprint. But companies are going beyond that now. So now they are making the carbon footprint into a negative mark as well. So like I'll give you an example for the Microsoft is aiming to become carbon negative by 2030. They're working on a principle where they're capturing and removing the carbon, then it emits. That's a very nice phenomena that they are working on. Their approach includes purchasing carbon removal credits. They are investing in reforestation, and they are exploring on carbon capturing technologies. This aggressive stance on offsetting the emissions sets a precedent for the industry and underline the ambition to go beyond the carbon neutrality. That's a very good concept that Microsoft and the other companies are working on. So we don't have to stop while reducing the carbon footprint. We have to go beyond that. We have to make the carbon footprint in a negative way.
Wonderful. I'm just gonna interject here, Vikas. It's really
Wow.
enlightening what you're sharing in terms of, you've given a very holistic and a very nice, I'd say, that entire concept that we have transitioned as, different organizations have also realized that being sustainable is now going beyond the social responsibility mark as well. And you are actually looking at, just looking at the end-to-end supply chain operations as well. You're looking at, what you were telling about a 360 and a holistic approach in terms of getting these organizations to work on what's in it for me. um, on and on, we have had, webinars, we have had panel discussions as well, we have had representatives come in who are either early adopters of sustainability practices, or now we are talking about, why the late adopters should be on the bandwagon really quickly. Which brings me to Dr. Kunts, you, and I'm going to put you up because you're in this space for a really long time. And just looking at your experience and what Waqas was talking about, I'd like to put in a question. We're looking at sectoral impact. Waqas shared, across sectors, different organizations, looking at ways in which they could work on going from, let alone carbon neutrality, but just going on carbon, negativity as well. What do you think that organizations, what's in it for them, to, just look at ways other than the impact that they're having on the environment? When we look into the financial aspect of it, is there really a profitability case that these organizations look for? And if so, what is it, and why should that be the most focal point for other organizations to also follow through?
It's a very good question, actually. And else, I would like to go back on discussion on data centers. I received the first my exposure to dealing with data centers 20 years ago, most probably even 25 years ago, when I was in charge of trading desk in bank. And actually, we had a lot of data in data centers. And I have never thought that data centers actually are the biggest polluter, and they're falling under definition of very high risk property for polluting enormous amount of carbon. So I am very much not really surprised, but I see how all data centers now handling ESG issues, and I'm very much fascinated that everything is being taken very much seriously. This is being enthusiast in ESG is a very good sign that ESG with us and will stay. And going back to your question in terms of impact on profitability, yes, there is a significant impact on profitability, but also on investor perception. So when it comes to financial aspects, I always splitting financial aspects between two: direct impact and indirect impact through working with investors. So again, going back to data centers, fascinating topic, because a lot of private equity now invest in data centers. This is quite lucrative business, and it's long-term business. Private equity people really likes long-term business. But when it comes to investing, the first thing investors now asking is whether your data center is ESG compliant or not. So by showing to your investors that your data centers is ESG compliant, and most probably it's in 10 years it will be near to carbon negativity, you most probably receive funding on quite preferential terms, which in turn will decrease cost of capital for your venture and increase profitability. So going back to your question, yes, there is an impact. And also based on our example, what we developed here on data centers, it's quite vivid. When it comes to direct profitability, people may argue that we spend a lot of resources on ESG, and all these resources really impact our bottom line. However, we may argue here that while you really spend a lot of resources and you impacting your bottom line, but in long term, in medium term, you are getting all these resources back through getting cheaper financing from bank, through utilizing better your resources, because once you start doing something on ESG, you pay much more attention to how you utilize resources. So yes, there are a lot of confirmations, there are a lot of researches in terms of direct impact of ESG on financial profitability.
Absolutely. And I liked what you were also talking about. The investor perspective has also changed, and that stands as the biggest, I think, the lucrative, most attractive point for organizations to also go into that. When we look at the markets, Nauman, I'm gonna come to you next as well. When we look at the global markets, Nauman, and I know that you're working on an international platform, and we are still looking at Europe spearheading, whether it's in the carbon credit front, whether it's in the green financial instruments fund, whether it's generally talking about adoption because it's being mandated. We look at the markets, which is around 55% pick up the carbon credits market. That's 55% implementation in the European sphere. And then we see that for the US market, it's still 15%, and we still have case studies coming out of there, as Waqas was mentioning as well. China is a close third with 13% in terms of the implementation. How important it is to encourage in economies where these reporting standards are still, I would say, voluntary. How important it is to work on that particular 2030 agenda and just look at ways in which we could have the late adopters also hop onto it. You're muted, Nauman.
Thank you very much, Noor. Actually, I dwelled last time as well on the local market, how we are back behind a lot of people in the market. And I suggested in that session that, first of all, we need to understand how this works for us, like how the data is coming, like is the deforestation really happening, all those things. We have a lot of construction impact here as well in Pakistan. First of all, it's the education part. It's the most important part is once we do the education, we do the traceability, then we understand the impacts, and then we build on how to go into the reporting market. Obviously, we all know that locally reporting structures like HERMESNET, what we're doing, probably will go into the structure that how this we are implementing, what's the technology behind all this. That part we will go a little later. Pakistan has to realize that you see the AQI indexes. We spoke last night as well with our session, that AQI indexes in Lahore, Peshawar are definitely getting worse than in the whole world. So there are some reasons which things are getting bad. Yes, there are impacts from the other environments, probably the industrial environments around Pakistan. But however, what we can do as a local market is like how to get closer is we need to understand the emissions factor. What does a basic tree model, what is a tree doing for us? Which kind of trees which we can plant who have carbon emissions impact, that they can reduce the emissions and all these things. And we were discussing last night in our mutual meet with Waqas and other people as well, Javed, that Pakistan needs to first understand how this carbon credits works. Once we understand that we are impacting, the market has to set up, people have to come together, and then obviously like Europe, like America, like China, you mentioned, then we can go into this market. And it has to be data based. It has to be some people who have to come and sit together, and then we can build on that. So for me, the most important thing is the education part, how this works. And this is why we built this network of Brown Network, Mindworks, HERMESNET, IFRS Lab. So we are trying to get in with Javed Saad last time from ASF, Jazz, so the telecom industry, the energy industry. Asad Saab is also doing a lot of impact there. So what comes in is we're trying to build some educational thing as well, but with impact, and we do into creating some technology, and we can get on board all these reporting structures, and from at least the organizational level, from SME to the large size organizations, the government organizations, at least those come aligned to all those solutions, and then we can build on that for like public sector as well.
Thank you, Nauman. And I think this is the right point where we should be advocating. I know there are lots and lots of discussion that are happening, a lot of planning, like I was saying, with regards to the COP29 as well. But I guess you've made a presentation, and I think it's really important for us as a group, and then the people who are joining us later on as well,
Sure.
to just look at the work that your organization is doing. And what I would really want to focus on is, and I was saying this at another webinar just a day ago as well, was that how appetite friendly can we make this discussion so that the late adopters can actually go on and start making a real change to the strategic direction of their
I've got one
organization.
answer for this, is that everybody else was first manually doing it. Okay, first, but the technology has improved it. So the people who are behind the bandwagon can jump in very quickly and get compliant just using technology. There is AI, there is a lot of other solutions. We're doing software-based, SaaS-based solutions in the market. So people just need to start doing it rather than thinking about when we do it, like next year. Pakistan SCCP has already launched this year's platform, the next year's platform. So people from the 1st January 2025 have to start getting compliance, and they are using IFRS frameworks as their benchmark. So obviously IFRS Lab being our partner, so obviously they're compliant in this, and then these can be built on. And the next year, the same way, the companies will be checked on basis of what they did on their reports, and the next year following 2027, they will be even more scrutiny over that. I've suggested that there has to be some organization who is a tester of this. Whatever reports have been created are verified as well. So it has to be either the PwC, the KPMG, Deloitte, or EY, but it could be local level. But if the standard is agreed, somebody has to attest and approve that as well. Like I can't say that I've done this much sustainability, and later on we find out that's just a greenwashing thing going on. So Dr. Kunts has a presentation he'd like to share about things what we do, and then I'll go a little bit of the structural demo of the solution what we're doing.
Yes, wonderful. And am I okay to put up the presentation? I can just do that really quickly,
Sure.
so that we could just go ahead with it. And just adding into this point, exactly, Numan. And this is the kind of discussion. Um, it's taken us decades to actually get to that point while the presentation uploads, where we have had the regulator, develop now the guidelines, or maybe I would be fingers crossed that the implementation is also taking place. But it also brings us back to what Dr. Kunts was talking about, the fact that there is an investor interest. When we look at a lot of the initiatives right now that are happening on a regional level, pick up the Climate Finance Accelerator, pick up the work that KfW is doing in the country. I'm just talking specifically about Pakistan at the moment, that we are sitting on funds that are being underutilized because of not finding the right partners who are implementing those processes, right? Um, we're looking at, let's look at the green bonds, the green loans market, and it's global, and it's very, very scalable. Um, Either offshooting from Pakistan to the rest of the world, or getting the rest of the world to invest in the country. They're all very scalable models, but yet there is this missing link where advocacy coupled with the standards reporting, and then the accreditation or the checking or the quality assurance of that. So completely on board on that. The presentation is up, Dr. Kunz. I'm going to take everybody off, and you just let me know when you want me to move the next slide. Over to you.
Well, let's move to the next slide. And so we started from business of data centers, and data centers are fascinating business. And you just mentioned that ESG is on agenda. We have a lot of uninvestment funds, and all of these funds are non-invested because business really lacks or processes. And here I believe we link process with data. In order to have your process, you have to have a data first. That's exactly, I believe, HERMESNET is stepping in. So we are helping our clients to gather data and to transform this data into actionable format. So going back to data centers, they will be collecting data on Carba. They will be analyzing all this data in terms of impact. They will forecast all this impact, including on their financial parameters, and they will be introducing some changes based on data. So our platform is data-driven platform, which helps our customers to collect data, to manipulate data, and to forecast data. And also, when we are talking about ESG, all ESG always have component of Carba. So whatever framework you take, there is a definition of Carba accounting in every framework. So that's why core of our platform is Carba accounting and data, manipulation of data in Carba accounting. So that's why our motto is turning data into impact, into tangible impact on how we can help our planet to be more green. So can we please go to other slide? Yeah, but this slide is again an indication and presentation of importance of Carba accounting, which is core of any ESG framework. And everything starts with understanding your impact and then incorporating your impact into your reporting. This is very much important concept, that as soon as you understand, you take actions. For understanding, you have to have data. Yes, please, next slide. Super. So what really stands HERMESNET platform and technology from other? So today we have a session partly dedicated to artificial intelligence. And people now not really laughing, but they are a bit skeptical in terms of two hypes meeting each other. One hype on ESG, another hype on artificial intelligence. And when you are talking about artificial intelligence in ESG, people are getting a bit skeptical. Well, artificial intelligence now it's everywhere. So when it comes to example of how we use artificial intelligence in our platform, it's quite interesting concept. That first of all, we are helping companies with preparing reports. Some of our clients have already started doing something on ESG. And what our platform in terms of using artificial intelligence helps them is to take the existing data and report and immediately to plug it into our system, advising them how to use this data and what is doing next for their reporting. And this is being done by artificial intelligence, by bot chat, and by other functions on our platform. Another very much interesting example of using artificial intelligence is forecasting, advanced data analytics. And going back to your example and question on asking whether ESG really impacts financial parameters, it's exactly what our platform will help our customers to understand. By manipulating data and using artificial intelligence, they will understand this financial impact. So we are helping organization to identify data, we call it blind spots, and also to support them to work with the spots to make sure that they understand the impact. And next slide, please. So I already mentioned that our solution helps our customers on ESG reporting through data gathering, through data manipulation, and we produce report. We help auditors to audit the report. So data management platform is quite complicated, and it starts from possibility of seamless automation across the whole organization. So we can integrate different systems within organization and to receive endless flow of data from one system to another up to producing reports. However, I always emphasize the point of governance in data. So going back to my background, 20 years ago, I received a certification of internal auditor for financial services. And data governance was not on agenda 20 years ago. Even governance was not an agenda. So I believe the whole concept of governance was brought 15 years ago. But gradually, the whole concept of data governance is becoming a big issue. So in auditors' world, now there is a notion that if you don't have proper policies, procedures, and working with data, there is no any point to audit your data because something again will go wrong if you don't have any procedures. So that's why in our platform, we help our customers to figure out proper procedures, proper dealing with data, which will later on be quite smoothly audited by any third parties or internal stakeholders. So it's how our solution helps here. And next slide. I believe it's let's miss it. Let's go to next slide. So it's exactly about our solution and how our solution works in the technical details. So I believe Nauman may take from here because he is very big specialist on using our solution and implementing our
Sure.
solution for customers.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you very much, Dr. Kunts. Obviously, there are 5 stages how this works, and going into background of what Dr. Kunts was saying, I'll just like to add one more thing before I move into this. That the solution has definitely the frameworks needed, which you can add any solution. It is customizable. The solution is totally customizable. So any CSRD, GRI, TCFD, or any other CDP framework, we can IFRS, we can embed any solution inside our system, and it's the skeletal is there, and then you can build any system on top of that, and any reporting structure can be created. That would take more than 3 to 4 weeks for us to just enhance that reporting solution. So the governance part is this, that the solution is pre-ready. Any framework you say, that solution will be running the report according to that framework. So then how this works is, obviously I'd go through this, and then probably later on I'll go into the video, and because I want to show how the solution looks like as well. So here it's obviously you configure, you select a suitable reporting framework, which I was mentioning. If you want to do GHG protocol, TCFD, GRI, etc., it can identify material items and prepare an ESG reporting template, because it will understand that I need to create a GRI or TCFD. So the system understands these things. Then you invite the stakeholders, supply chain participants, or colleagues of doing internal. If you have multiple organizations, and like you're a group of companies, then you have different sectors. Like you have maybe franchises run, or different brands run under you. So you can ask all those stakeholders to sell their reports, and you can make multiple users. Access levels are given and everything. Like some people are just they can just view the reports, and some people can edit, and then some people can only populate the data as well. So the population of data happens in the third stage. Plug in internal external systems via ERP, CRMs. A normal PDF file can be picked up, or Excel sheet can be picked up as well. Then obviously it does the analysis about these things, and then finally the report comes out. This is pretty much it. The next slide, if that is technical, or let's see what it is. Yes. So then competition. How it works. We looking into the in Pakistan level or international level, we're looking for market adoption, fully digital onboarding for the companies, multi-purpose functionality. We are supporting any industry or any kind of business. We don't have a size or anything. We facilitate all the sectors, and the most important thing is everything is not very difficult. We've got some tutorials set up online on our website. Our infrastructure is much more easier to use, and just put the data there. There is a free version we have. You can use a free user's ID. Few days later, probably in 2 or 3 weeks later, we are trying to get into another model where people can use the system. A month package, the whole features will be there. It will be free user access for a month, so everybody can use our feature on all the levels. Right now, it has limited features, the free user, but in a maximum in a month's time, we are going up an update that people can use all our features for a month and see how it works. So this is like our expansion mindset of HERMESNET. Next slide, please. So these are some feedbacks. You can also visit our website from the people who are working with us. We have mostly large size organizations with international marketing companies, IT companies, venture capitalists, private equity firms. They're using for their clients, and obviously they're using for themselves as well. IT firms are using for themselves. They're reporting, and obviously they're helping us even reach out to their clients who they are ever doing these things. So these are some of the feedbacks from our clients. You can see the background. They're very diverse. Namerial is handling in multiple assets in billions of dollars. Everett's Investment Corporation, it's quite big. And Yende is also a financial organization. And you can see OMA Investment Fund, obviously you see as well. So Noor was asking, how does this work as a market? So people are investing. Pakistan, where in Pakistan level, government has to, in like our stock and exchanges, all these industries, they have to make a standard that somebody who is ESG compliant, their shares would be going in public. Otherwise, they have to have certain regulations in, and SECP has to have a little bit of compliance in this thing. So this would be the fast tracking of the system if people are promoted who are ESG compliant or sustainable enough from internal and external verifying authorities. So I think this is pretty much it for the slide. I'd like to go into a little bit of video. Dr. Kunts, you want to go in with anything? Dr. Kunts?
Well, just a couple of points. The first point in terms of customization. So we are working now on new feature in our platform, and we are adding totally new user type to our platform when company can customize our solution by themselves without any need of going to us. This is very interesting concept. So far, I didn't see it in our competitors' world at all, meaning that usually there are different levels of users, and we introducing new user. We called it administrator, who based on different frameworks can just customize framework what customer needs. And there might be different frameworks. So it's like Lego. I always give an example of Lego. That administrator will understand exactly what the ESG team needs, and together with them, they will build it into the system without any need of going to us. This is interesting. So another, it's concept of data sharing within organization. Data can be contributed through Excel, IP, through custom connectors, and again based on policies and procedures accepted in data transfer between one department to another department. When we work with ESG reporting, it's quite robust instrument in terms of working with data.
And I think what I'm also trying to just reflect on this is what both of you are saying, gentlemen, that where I see the most attractive point would be that the organizations that are just starting on their sustainability reporting journey, they are usually very caught up with which standard to use, number one, and then which disclosure should it be like a complete disclosure, and that's where it gets overwhelming because our data is actually not structured. It would be like Numan is saying that it would be in some Excel files. It would be some of the data would be sitting with the operations manager. Some of the data would be on the CFO's desk. The other is on the management's desk. And in order to extract that data and put it at a platform where you could see the implementation go in from disclosure to disclosure. And why I'm smiling is because I've done that bit for an organization as part of their sustainability reporting, and it was a task and a half. So, in terms of timelines, also, I'm sure both of you would agree that in terms of timelines, a task that we could have easily done if the process would have been in place on a monthly basis took us a couple of months. Now, that is again a lot of wastage of resources. And it's not like the organization I'm talking about has over 5,000 employees and is a huge organization. And yes, Numan, it is an organization in Pakistan. I can't name it on the public platform. But in terms of the ease that I see, and I know that Numan wants to show us something as well, because the user friendliness of the UI has to be there so that people can see how easy to do some things are. They look difficult or complex when we're talking about it. So Numan, over to you. I'm just going to add your screen to the stage so that everybody can see it.
Sure.
There's sound there, so let me just see.
So obviously, how do I start as a user? So obviously, there is a workspace owner on the HERMESNET can start carbon accounting project using a pre-built GHG protocol. So GHG means greenhouse gas protocol. So we have quite robust in this. It's just going into the technical side of it, and you can run the screen so that I can go through. These all videos are available on our website. So it's under a guides and tutorials website on the carbon accounted link. These are all the frameworks and standards here. These are pre-built, whatever you want to use as a user, all workspaces you can build. This is how it's explaining. You can create a new user out of this. It's stuck the video, I believe. Okay. Yeah, it's fine. So again, the template, whatever template you want to use, GHG protocol, carbon accounting, this is the basic thing. Pakistan is very much interested in these, how this works, the contents of this. So obviously here, you see on the left side, there's direct emission, scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. So there are stationary combustion, road vehicles, passenger vehicles, delivery, whatever data you want to enter, you select them, ask the report sender to send it, either you populate it or there's somebody who you give the access to so they can populate this data for you. So this is all the preview of all these things. So navigating through each disclosure data, collecting from form helps you understand the specific data type of each category, what you need to enter, the brand, the model, emission factor, vehicle category, type. Everything is mentioned here, much easier, then obviously there's a guidance info. So if there is any requirement on your setup, it tells you how to do this. It's helping you all by itself. How to exact GHG protocol requirements. Every disclosure you can preview detailed guidance and read requirements. Recommendations for each disclosures are also given here. So you can see this, it's giving. Then there is analytics. So it shows you how where you can get, like you can say get again on-road vehicles, aviation. If somebody has some delivery has come from airline or some stocks, or your manpower is using travel, international travel, all those factors are part of that ESG reporting solution. So it gives you printing configuration. How do you want to print all this data? And then you go and proceed onto this.
Wonderful, Nauman. And as we go through this particular video, I think we should let it run in the background as well. And while we can, just have some questions.
Yeah, it's I think running slightly slower than I'm expecting.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah, little bit
yeah,
slower.
it's not supposed to work like that, but it's going quite fast on my end, but it's running quite slower. So obviously this is it comes like this. Obviously now you can see it will be it must be having a design, so it goes, the front page of the report comes like this. Then obviously most of the people who have seen some reportings of ESG, so they know what the structure is. It's environmental and social, and obviously the governance part, then obviously your carbon emissions. All these things are quite robust. It says summary, site 1, site 2, site 3. So whatever it is goes into these. It will print the pages according to those things. So it will be summary and details on all the stages. Obviously, you can carefully review all the disclosure, structure, reporting requirements, inclusion, and ensure alignment with your project goals and data collection capabilities.
And this, I believe, works very well with the integrated reporting as well, if anybody wants to issue.
Yes, exactly. You can close this. I'd go into just one more thing because obviously we're lacking in time as well. Yes, we are almost there. So I'd just go with one more slide just to show how the dashboards look like. So that's quite important. So obviously, so analytics capability, the other videos are longer, so I'm sharing if that could be shown in front.
What we're doing right now is that you can see a ticker skim through the webinar. So just go on the website, like Nauman is saying, it's up on the website as well. I've just opened up the website here as well, my end, and you could just
Yeah.
see that. Let's look at one of the dashboards. Yeah, there's a slight lag, I think, due to
There's
the
a
internet.
yeah.
So you can give us a rundown of this, Nauman, because I muted the sound so that it
Okay.
doesn't lag. So just give us
So
a quick rundown.
it's just going in. It's going. Obviously, I think I just had a message from Shafak. Probably it's the lag of the internet, because my end it was supposed to run faster. So obviously, this is the dashboard. I go into these things as well. Like again, the reports which you were seeing, whatever you enter here, the stationary combustion, the on-road vehicles report, it goes into, if I have the control in the okay, I can go skipping, but obviously it's again stuck a little bit. So this is how the impact looks like on the reporting. It has the capability to forecast. This is internal, each department or each thing by scope or anything like scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. It's defining by that, and within the scopes, obviously it can give you dashboards within the sub-reporting of aviation or stationary combustion or any internal external vehicles used, or manpower or electricity or energy. So all those things, it can go into all these reportings, and obviously it makes it look much easier. Okay, who's giving what impact to you? So this was a little bit of look into this, monitor. So these are obviously monitoring additional essential matrix, scope 1, scope 2. It's giving, the video is slightly slow versus I can go with, so either I can stay slow on that subject. So I'm just very interested where that part
Carry on with your
comes.
pace, because I think this is giving us a good idea
Yeah.
of what the dashboards look like.
Yeah. So there was this interesting thing about the forecasting as well. Yes, this is the
There
one.
we go. Let's just
So
pause this here.
yes, I've paused it here, so it can go into what quarter, if on the rate of whatever the company is doing, where it can go up, where it will go down. All these capabilities are there in the solution for whatever data you're doing. So it can also give you, different graphics, whatever analytics you want, or the formats reports you want. It can run into any formats you want. So this is another feature of this. So this is pretty much it. What we are looking after is how organizations can use this and better themselves in the next 3, 4, 5 years and 10 years. That's not just the solution and running the report right now. It's the perspective is, okay, how do we change? And obviously we will keep on improving our solution, and people have to keep on improving their processes. And the nicest thing is we're going from a single user, which is like £50. I'm not going into the pricing, but it's easy for a single user company to, if somebody wants to report, that it can be done, to enterprise level of large size companies. Like I used to work for Alphatem in UAE, just to give an example. They have 200 partner companies, and I mean, not just departments, it's partner companies. They're working internationally in 25 countries. So that kind of size can be accommodated. The report won't crash down because of the AI intelligence, and it's run behind on the blockchain. So every move, every change is recorded on the blockchain. Obviously, Waqas being the expert in the blockchain as well. So the technology is basically saved on the back end is on blockchain as well. So we're using the top two technologies possible for this current time and period, what is there on our platform. Every audit trail can be tracked on the blockchain. Whoever has made a change, or who has entered the data wrong, or who has done a report properly or improperly, so it has all the track on that one.
Yeah,
So
wonderful. And this, I think those of you who would be like watching the recording as well, and we'll make sure, Vikas, that we run it past all of our pool of financial experts who I know are struggling at the moment as we speak, because they see it as, and rightly so, they see it as an additional to the financial reporting that they already had to do. But now to like venture into, because how we see this is that the role of the CFO, as they're saying, has also evolved. And the CFO has gone now from being more of a financial officer to more of a sustainability officer. And one of the and I'll give you a nice recollection from the past, Nauman, Dr. Kunts and Waqas, that for 10 years we were in a consortium with an accountancy body, ACCA, and WWF in Pakistan, and we sat down together and we used to do the reporting awards. All that you were showing, Nauman, right now were a part of our judges' criteria, in which we used to assess that, all right, you have your disclosures, that's absolutely perfect, wonderful. What about the futuristic performance? And organizations would not see beyond the year. So what we're saying is that, coming back from 10 years ago is when I'm talking about. This is where technology has actually integrated and refined those processes, because your forecasting is being done in a smart way. And then there's technology that's actually spearheading it. We are a little bit short on time, but since we started 3 minutes late, so I'll take the liberty to, go ahead for 3 more minutes. So Dr. Kunts, where do you see the future? Final comment. Where do you see the future of sustainability? Let's say, are we geared, and should we be looking forward that if we have all the tools in place for 2050, we'd be aiming for a net zero?
Well, in terms of sustainability, I believe sustainability will stay, and it will stay, and it will be with us for long time. And I will always give an example of ozone hole. So if you go back to 30 years ago, there was a lot of noise surrounding ozone hole, whether it's true or not true. However, when all nationalities start actioning, the whole become smaller. This is example of ESG working in real world. So what I really believe, that ESG is not just about ecology, is not about E, but also about governance. 20 years ago, governance, let's say, even in financial institution, was not on agenda. And collapse of a lot of financial institutions due to governance was an eye opener for the world. So they brought immediately it into ESG and diversity. So when we are talking about diversity, we really miss important point of smaller suppliers which will be used by big corporates, and we have to put limit on using small suppliers for big corporation. They need to use it, and we need to report it in ESG how they work with small suppliers. So again, I believe ESG will stay. Very big advocate of ESG.
Wonderful.
And
Yes, impact to communities. Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Naman, your thoughts, final thoughts.
Um, for me, I'm more advocate about saving the future of our children, and obviously, if we make smarter choices and bring the E and the S and the G into any business or any private practice, this might help into getting the smarter choices, because I'm full time into AI. AI is going to make things impactful and making things easier for us, and we become more smarter and smarter in whatever choices we make. So all the choices what we do is going to impact our ESG principles, the sustainability principles. How do we use our life, especially in Pakistan level? If I see how do I educate our children from the schools, from the universities, the colleges, it has to be a new concept. The government has to start educating people. I'm seeing some advertisements. However, we have to think as a nation, because if we can't breathe, we have to wear masks outside. It's worse than COVID then. So just a couple of days ago, Islamabad's weather was pretty bad. If it didn't rain, it would have been quite smoggy today. So
Lahore is still the worst
yes.
amongst
So
pollution.
and I'm not sure, but I think Pakistan thinks that we are not the impactor. Something is impacting our environment, so we have to think inside and do a little bit of evolution, think about how to change our living standards. Because I've come 10 years later in Pakistan, and where my local places where I live, I've seen a lot of plastic bag uses. I've seen a lot of dumps of plastic everywhere going on, and When you come from another country which is much more developed like Dubai and UAE, then you see the differences. Okay, how much of the plastic consumption we do as a nation. Everything what we do use is critical to the future. So these all things are obviously from my side, we have to change. If we don't change, the nature will change us then.
Absolutely. And Waqas, final words. You started off with, putting a data center into the smack in the middle of the ocean. So any final comments as to how we're doing the cooling off of the ESG?
With the next, I guess, a decade or two, we'll start seeing the results uh, that we are currently working on. It's all about collaboration, too. So none of this would be possible without the collaboration. We are seeing the alliances within the industry and across sectors to exchange the knowledges. Like, for example, IT is leading from the front. These all aggressive actions that are taking place are creating a ripple effect across all the industries, right? Where, if you talk about the data centers again, where energy hunger data centers, once they were seen as a necessary compromise, today they are becoming the role models of the efficiency and sustainability. But yeah, all the aggressive pursuit of sustainable infrastructure is turning the IT sector into a leader in corporation sustainability. This I'll say that this journey is not only reducing the environmental impact, but also sets the benchmark for other industries as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I completely agree with all three of you as well in terms of, just businesses being more cognizant of the fact that we need to leave a positive impact. And just like Waqas also said, that it has to be baby steps. We have to start from somewhere. We are seeing impacts, both positive and negatives as well. But I saw a picture once in which I'd like to close on this, is that the mother nature is crying. But they're like, what are we doing as all individuals to ensure that the mother nature stops crying and maybe starts on the recovery journey? So on that note, thank you so much, everybody. This is definitely not the last in the series of the ESG live cast webinars, so do join us on the Brown Network pages, Mindworks pages, HERMESNET. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for both of you for collaborating. I'm really excited to learn more about this, and I'd have a word with Nauman as to how we can market this further in our regions as well. So thank you so much for your time, for your inputs. For those of you who have joined us, stay tuned. We are more coming up with more such webinars which are sector focused as well. So do join in, and we'll see you later. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
Bye.